So we're here talking about our favorite topic, master plant diets, which for all of you who might be new to master plant diets is essentially a marriage with the spirit of a plant. It's when humans go through a process that the Amazonian tribes created to open themselves up to the sensitivities of connecting with the spirit of a plant. And I'm here with Marwa Mitchell, one of my favorite people on the planet. And yeah, we're here to talk about a master plant diet we're going to do together with chamomile. And she's not necessarily the traditional plant that we do this process with. But before we talk more specifically about chamomile, Marwa, will you talk about why you love this process so much? You said to me just a bit ago, like you got the bug, you love it.
I do.
So for people that haven't done it before, what do you love about it?
The process itself is so connective, and I think that for anybody who has a genuine love of nature and Mother Earth and has worked with the plants, to be able to have such an intimate relationship with a plant spirit itself is it's just it feels so magical. And I can't describe it more than there's just so much magic in being able to connect directly so intimately with the plant. And I think that's what I love about the process, is getting to know each one of them individually on such a connective level. And the lessons that they're able to show you and how differentiated they are, discovering that is like it's like a box you get to open, every time you decide on sitting with a plant. Like if you sit with chamomile, it's going to be another box you open. We all know chamomile as a lovely tea. She's very mainstream in that sense. But then when you connect with her on this deep spiritual level, the relationship itself, the depth of the relationship is really what keeps me coming back to do this process over and over again.
Okay, I'd love to talk about that more because it is so still just kind of awe-inspiring because you think you know a plant until you go into a dieta, and sometimes it's like, whoa, I never expected this kind of potency. And especially because these plants, the majority of them that we work with in this way, they're not psychedelic. And so we might erroneously assume like, oh, it'll be a gentle process, which it can be, but it's often wildly potent. And so maybe for those who haven't experienced that depth of intimacy, can you kind of give language to why it's so different? What about the process of being in a master plant dieta allows for the plant to show up differently, more strongly, however you want to articulate that? Why does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, the portal that is created, like the actual portal, the opening of that portal allows for that merging of the plant consciousness with our consciousness. And so that depth that we experience isn't just, from having a glass of chamomile, for example, and being able to experience her physical properties. But when you have that merging of spirit, you end up having a merging of the spiritual teachings that these plants also give us. And so, for example, if it's okay, I'll give an example of sort of what
Please.
chamomile could do on a spiritual level. Like we know her as an anti-inflammatory, right? Like that's one of her physical properties. She helps to reduce inflammation in our body. When we connect with her on a spiritual level, though, then we start to feel into her becoming anti-inflammatory of the inflammatory emotions that maybe we're holding around a trauma, for example, or an experience or an issue. And so as we reduce that inflammation, that perhaps anger, that resentment, what we do is we end up sitting in that emotion. We have clarity on really what the issue is. So you could see how she operates sort of in this spiritual realm, just similar to how she operates in a physical realm. But it's only through that connection in these portals that we're able to understand these teachings, and able to see how she manifests for us in spiritual and shows us that clarity and gives us that gift of reducing those inflammatory emotions to really get into the depth and the clarity of what's really happening, what's really underneath there.
That's so well articulated. And I would love to add maybe the shadow side of that intimacy in depth is that this process, the dieta, which involves like a lot of sort of strict restrictions, sacrifices, if you will, that we make regarding the food we consume, the media we consume, sexual intimacy, all of that. basically being monogamous to the plant that we're working with. So that level of commitment and depth allows for what you're describing, that intimacy, but it also allows the plant to access the shadow aspect of what they work with. You know, a plant like chamomile, who is known for nervous system regulation, and softness and sweetness, she might illuminate the ways in which we have an attachment to stress in our lives, as an example. Still with her sweetness and her love, but with a potency that might be alarming to any of us who have had her as a tea at night, casually in the Dieta portal, because of that depth of connection. And they get to show up in I guess, a larger spectrum, you know, and we get to see in our own selves the shadow of the medicine they might be carrying. So they might make the inflammation worse, or our emotions might become deeply heightened, but it's so that we allow them to be processed and we learn from it. So that's why it's not an easy process.
Yeah, beautifully said. Absolutely.
So tell us more about, just in a general sense of what chamomile has to offer and why I really feel like you called this in. We're going to do this diet together, but like that, I feel like you chose her. So why chamomile? Why now? What does she have to offer as her medicine?
And I've had a deep connection with chamomile just as a medicine that I've turned to even before I've done dietas. She has this, like I said, relaxing effect, this anti-inflammatory effect. She was always part of my nighttime ritual. So whenever I'd go through nighttime ritual, it would either be chamomile or lavender or both of them together. She was always like part of that. And the reason is because she offered that gift, right, of relaxation, reducing anxiety, all sorts. And I feel like at this time, why I called it in, it feels like we might need it a little bit during this time. So I do feel like there is in the collective, all of us maybe feeling there's a little bit of anxiety, that we could use a little bit of her medicine to help us get into a space of regulation, and ease some of that, that pain that we might be experiencing right now. And obviously within a group dieta format, it's even more beautiful because we can go through it together and have
Can you
that.
describe that group Dieta format, the way that we do this?
Yeah, so we have what we do is we will be in diet for 3 weeks collectively as a group, and we meet every week for the dieta process. Going to be meeting on Thursday, I believe, for chamomile. And so within that 3 weeks that we are in dieta, we could stagger, but Kat and I will both be sharing and opening the portals for everybody in that group. And again, we're going to be meeting, talking about what we're experiencing, talking about the plans. It really is an open forum. It's really beautiful. You may have experienced dieta in, as a one-on-one kind of dieta, but in a group, it really is, there's this sort of a collective element to it that I really love. There's this, okay, I'm going through a personal experience, but you'll find that people in the group are also going through similar experiences, or the way that they're describing their experiences provides clarity for you. There's this interaction that's really beautiful within the group setting, that I find really magical, because that collective element that we share, that collective subconscious that we're sharing, in that portal as well. And then once we close out all of our dietas, we're going to wait 1 week and then do the last session together as a group, that fifth Thursday, I think. And so that's where we do our integration call, and that would be 1 week after most of us, we've all closed, at least 1 week after. Yeah. So
You're right. I love the collective element.
yeah.
It's my favorite way to experience the diets, because you learn so much from what other people are experiencing. Because a lot of times this process is necessarily mysterious and confusing. And so you might be like even experiencing things that sometimes we don't even correlate to the diet itself. And then we get in the collective container and hear people echo that they're feeling or experiencing similar things. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, this is chamomile. This is the plant. I thought I was being neurotic or whatever it might be. It's really quite magical to see the common like threads that are woven between the plant and us as beings that were called to work with them at that space and time. So
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it becomes really part of their characteristic, right? Like you get to really see, okay, these are characteristics of, like when we did lavender when I was part of group Dieta, those were there was very specific characteristics of lavender and how she showed up for us and what she called us out on. And so again, like it's really beautiful to see. There's also that support element that you get in the group setting, that is just absolutely lovely. I feel like, we always have that group after Dieta too to just kind of connect with each other, and that connection, that community, we all really need it. I think the community piece of it is also really beautiful. And I always get sad when they're done. It feels like, the family's broken up. It always feels sad.
Yeah, because that piece of community is like medicine all on its own, absolutely. And a lot of times friendships are forged and people stay in touch long after. And that makes my heart happy too, that the plants help facilitate meaningful relationships because, we need that right now. And really, to your point around the medicine of chamomile, helping us through a collective shadow that it just feels like it gets more and more triggering by the day. This is wild, this time to be here on this planet. And you and I are here doing this work because we know nature is here to support that. And we know how it feels to white knuckle through without that support. Thumbs down on that, it's hard enough like to do it in a way where we're disconnected from the magic and the love and the wisdom of nature. It's just so painful. So, and to that end, I want to call it out too that, of course, there's a cost and exchange associated with this. But for anybody that is called to do this experience, if money is the only reason why you're not joining us, reach out. Like there's information at the website to contact us. We never want that to be the reason why you don't get to have a collective experience of magical healing because that's not okay. So we will always work it out. But for those who can pay, thank you for doing that on behalf of those who can't so that we can create that balance. But we just wanted to share some of the magic of chamomile's medicine and we're super excited to, I'm going to be dieting with the team. Are you as well?
As well. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're super excited to share this portal with everyone. If you have additional questions, you can drop comments below and or reach out to us at plantmedicinepeople.com. Thanks for listening and thanks for answering the call to connect with nature. Marwa, thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.